First, Jim Barrett, welcome to Friday. You've made it. Best TV sound of all time. Hawaii 5-0. How are you? You well? Had a good week, I trust. Thanks, guys. I've learnt this. How about you? Jim Barrett, welcome. And to our first little hooray for Fridays. Absolutely. And because it's got raining, I've got the old line going, right? So LA's wet clothes into a dry martini. So welcome everybody who's just tuning in. Yes, I'm fine. Thank you for asking. Yes, I'm doing really well. I've got news to tell in just a little bit longer. And these all noises off are coming from a certain person, furry person just down here, who's now learnt the ways of the TiVo time. Cheers everybody, welcome to Friday. Hope you got something agreeable in a glass. I'm Philip Jones, the Martini Whisperer. And for the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to talk about vermouth. So make yourself comfy, and I'll take questions. Hello Cosmo, he's just right here. I'll drag him up in a minute. So he deserves a cracker. So the rule is when we make a cocktail around here, he's learnt when I get my mixing glass out to sit by in the kitchen very quietly and watch. And then I'll sit down here, have an agreeable cocktail, and he gets the water cracker. There you go, mate. And he complains because he's been waiting for it. So, there we go. So let's talk vermouth. Apparently, some bright spark decided that 21st of March is World Vermouth Day. And I'm a bit busy that particular day, so I figured I'd just get in a little bit early and talk about vermouth. Now, when I did the shot here, I didn't realise I had quite so many of vermouth. I've got about a dozen or so on hand. So I think if you want, I'll talk to each of those kind of things, and especially talk about in the context of martinis and so forth. And shameless plug, but it is, if you want to go to my website, there's several articles about vermouth. One is called Dry Vermouth, about the making of and styles. And the other is called the Australian Vermouth List. No, that's back to front. You'll see on the article index, won't be hard to find. And so I keep a directory like I do all the gins and vodkas, etc. And if I do a look here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, about 26 Australian vermouth makers. Some are small batch. Sure, you bet. They're all very, very different. So again, welcome everybody. I'm talking vermouth next 30 minutes or so. So I'm happy to take questions as we go. Cheers to you. I think I'll turn off the Wi-Fi though in the background there. So yes, there are about, like I said, about 25 or so vermouth makers. A few more have come on in time. Many of you will probably know the Maiden Eye out of Victoria, and Sean Byrne, who owned the Gin Palace, I think he still does, Gin Palace, the famous bar in Melbourne, is behind this brand. And they make several of which I've got here, for example. So this is their sweet one, which is just divine by itself. Now, first thing you should know probably about vermouth is a little bit of pocket history, shall we say, because it's got its roots in, medicinal herb and wine combinations for your health. So long before we had gin and the rest of it, we probably had vermouth in many shape or form. It is wine with a spirit, can be like a brandy spirit or something like that, something to help preserve it. Herbs, and there could be anything from half a dozen herbs to like 75 herbs in some combinations, all different types and shades. Usually aged in wood. And it might be a dry style, as in like the French style, based on a sort of white wine, or it could be the sweet style. Again, as you can see, it's red, so based on red wine. And in some cases, sugar can be added, etc. All different styles and philosophies around this. So, as you're probably aware, there are the famous Italian brands like Martini, and when you think about, it's easy to diss Cinzano and Martini and so on, but they were one of the first global brands of any sort of spirit. So they were, for a fun fact, they were being imported into America in the 1850s through New Orleans. True story. So they're iconic brands for a reason, and I'll come back to them why in a Martini context, probably not the best combo. But the Italian vermouths tend to be a bit more fruit, more wine-driven, shall we say, whilst the French vermouths more drier in style, hence like my lovely Dolan, or of course the famous Nolly Prat. This is empty. I didn't know. So Nolly Prat comes to south of France near Marseille, and when they put it in the barrels with the wine, the spirit, amortized, and the herbs, etc., that's then aged in the barrels in the sun to really get complex flavors. So the net result is a much more spicier and richer forward. Whilst the Dolan up north, near Dijon from memory, the Chambery, up north that way. Anyway, it's lighter and drier and crispier, and it can polarize people. You either kind of love it or you hate it, but it's often the wine base, like a Sauvignon Blanc or something like that kind of spirit. While the Italians, again, as like I said, are more fruit driven, more kind of that. Come back to Australia. So as I said, there's about 25 different, that I know of, makers of different Australian vermouths, and they're all very different. Now, you're not going outside, puppy duties, you're not going outside, it's raining, buddy. Sorry, this is Cosmo. You're not going outside and get wet. We just had this conversation about muddy paws. Yeah, not so great. Yes, so anyway, so I was saying on my site, I've got a list of all the various Australian vermouth makers. And some are familiar for me and some are not. Some are local winemakers. For example, you asked before, Ravensworth Wines in Canberra, Ginderberry. So Ravensworth Wines, they make a vermouth. There's two, a red and a white. I've not tried it. Called Outlandish Claims. So there's a link again. You can go back to find it. A lot of these things are small batch. There's another one which is called Cures and Causes. No, other way around. Causes and Cures. And they come out of the Yarra Valley, Victoria, and they make a really gorgeous, semi-sweet white one. The red I'm not so crazy about. Usually there's a few batches each year. So again, there's a link and review to a past release on my website. You've got Adelaide Hills, Castagna, I've worked before. That's kind of more like a rosé style of vermouth. The Chinkacept, small batch. There's out of South Australia, JC's Old Vermouth. Jones Winery, no relation, in Coral, Victoria. Herb Hafen in Melbourne, Victoria, also make a vermouth. Margan Family Wines, they make an off-dry, a dry and a sweet. So they're big winemaker, Margans. Max Forbes Winery, Morgan's Winery, again, still Victoria. Peter Van Gent Winery in New South Wales. Regal Rogue are the other big brand. So I mentioned Maiden before, but Regal Rogue, to their credit, were probably the first floating around. And they're more UK, internationally kind of centric. You see Regal Rogue, it's quite a nice release. So it's a pretty classic, the best way to describe it would be, not as well, if Maynard's doing all the gorgeous stuff of Australian botanicals, Regal Rogue keep it pretty more straight and down and regular, and but a fresh take on it. So very fresh and zesty, and I've used them before, and it's a really nice vermouth to work with. So Regal Rogue is excellent. Saison Vermouth, again in Victoria. Skew Vermouth, South Australia. Mystic Vermouth in Victoria. Turkey Flat out of South Australia, and another one from South Australia called Yuzu Vermouth. That's all right. So again, on my site, look up, so there's a list and links back to the respective places and see what you think. Again, you will probably get some variation. I'm going to sneeze for a minute. Which I'll explain, excuse me, before I just have a sneeze. Cosmo's brought something disgusting in. So welcome everybody, I'm Phil Jones from Martini Westboro. Welcome to Friday night. You've earned a drink. I hope you've got something agreeable on the couch. And I'm talking about vermouth. Usually once a month I'll do like a big long kind of episode about various themes, but I thought, what the heck, 21st of March is apparently World Vermouth Day. Who decides these things? I don't know. So let's talk about some various styles. Chin chin. And needless to say, and the obvious thing to say, is without vermouth, there can be no martinis. So God bless it. We love you vermouth. We really do. All right. So break down some of these brands for you. And so how about some storage tips first and foremost? This is where often people go wrong. So if you've got a bottle of, I don't know, Mum's Cinzano from 1995 hanging around on the back shelf, chances are it's not going to be any good. Once they're open, they will go stale, almost off. So not as quickly as wine does, but remember, this is wine, spirit, and herbs preserved in wood. So they're only about 25% alcohol by volume and things like that, but that's not the point. The point simply is they will go stale or vinegary. So the pro tip is of one or two things. Well, actually one of three things. You can keep your bottle in the fridge, which is what I do. So once they're open, they live in the fridge. So if I crack this open, I would probably get, after about a month, you'd notice a difference. You open up the bottle and you smell the bottle, it's nice and fresh, beautiful aromatics, floral. That's fresh, right? You wait a couple of weeks, you're going to go that, it's kind of almost like a sour note, and it's going to affect your cocktail, especially your martini. It's subtle, but it's real. So there's that. The other thing you can do is if you've got a vacuum seal for your wine, you know, to kind of rubber plug, and that works, same deal. So you'll probably double life expectancy doing both techniques for about 1 month to 2 months. Or you do what I do, is just drink more martinis. Just give it a bottle quicker. And if you can find a half bottle, even better. We obviously in Europe you can get half bottles of all these the literal releases, but in Australia we can't, unfortunately. But that would be a good thing to do. So, pro tip to local winemakers or people who think making vermouth: half bottles would be really, really helpful. Cheers, Stu. All right, let me take you through some of these flavors. So you asked the question, what was my preferred Australian vermouth? Someone asked before. Well, look, each to their own, and by that I mean I like the causes and cures that popped out of Victoria a couple of years ago. So if you know Lele, good evening everyone, welcome to my home. I'm having a cocktail and talking about vermouth tonight, and happy to take questions as we go. So this is one of my all-time favourite kind of ingredient, Lele Blanc. I know the camera's back to front. Based on Seville oranges. It's a sort of vermouth, so it's on the vermouth family, shall we say. Anyways, vermouth is having a moment, and the reason for that, why it's having a moment, is some of us want to like sometimes a lighter drink, not such a boozy drink, and it's really, really versatile. So you can have this traditionally vermouth drink, neat, chilled, on ice as an aperitif, because they're only like, this one's only 70% alcohol by volume as opposed to 42 for a slug of gin. So easy on the bottom, easy on yourself, and refreshing and light and beautiful flavours. And they are lovely expressions of the spirits, the backbone, in this case the Seville oranges with herbs, very aromatic and luscious and rich on the palate. So what's not to love, right? They're fantastic. So you can turn these into spritzes and cocktail bases, which I often like to do. So so vermouth is well over its due time for recognition, and also just more sophisticated drinking culture. You don't have to have beer or wine. This is something that kind of sits in the middle of nice sophisticated drink, something to eat with. Of course, the great thing about European traditional drinking is you've always got something to eat, cheese or some type of olive, etc., some sort of meat to go with these things. They've kind of done the homework for us and thought ahead of food. But let me step with you in our time to talk about that very thing. So I mentioned before, okay, so I'm talking about martini context and Negroni context for the most part. So, and also Manhattans. But without no sweet vermouth, you can't have a Manhattan, right? So, Noddy Pratt. So this is my two go-to kind of healthy pours, right? They live in my fridge. The Dolon and the Noddy Pratt. And the reason I have both is because the Noddy Pratt is a richer, more spicier, flavoured style of vermouth compared to Dolon. So it's really good for things like dirty martinis, stronger, like in style gins, like a Tanqueray or a Beefeater or whatever, when I want a bit more oomph in the martini. Again, it's the bridesmaid, not the bride, but clearly if a glass of just plain gin, no matter how cold it is, it lacks the complexity that the botanicals out of the vermouth bring to cocktail. Whilst the Dolon, I pronounce that very badly. So it's a bit cold because I keep it in the fridge, like I said before. It is more, I won't say vinegary, or a Jiraja. Yes, exactly right. So the rule of thumb is, okay, there's two rules of thumb about vermouth in the martini for me. One is the stronger the flavour or punch of the gin, there's no point trying to compete with that. So you just either dial back your vermouth or choose one which just complements but doesn't compete. So a Jiraja, I would definitely go the Noddy Pratt for that, but just use it a bit less so it doesn't compete. Whilst Dolon, too much can kind of ruin it, take over. It's quite a strong, there's actually 47 botanicals in this. I did a masterclass years ago with a perfumer out of city called Dimitri Weber. And we did a fun thing where it was all French cocktails and French ingredients. And I create the cocktails, then he deconstructed them from a perfume's point of view. And he told me that there's 47, so he showed all the 47 botanicals that make up this. They're there for a reason. So it's a very complex drink. So my advice to you, if you're still starting out, get a bottle, try it by itself before you go mixing anything else. You can't go wrong, it's lovely stuff. And whatever you do, don't waste it. So leftover vermouth and things like that, I put it into my olive brine and my Gibson brine, which is a subject for another conversation. And there's clips on my YouTube channel about that by the by. So they're my go-tos because they're kind of versatile. So I'm enjoying a Plymouth Gin Martini Lemon Twist, as I like to do on a Friday. Cheers to you. Talking vermouth tonight for a little while. So I just found from experience that the Dolon, because it's light and it's subtle, just a little bit, like a bar spoon even, is enough to complement that with the citrus. It brings that lovely, elegant flavour profile of the gin. We go to Australia now. Australia makes some great, like Regal Road. I'll let rattle whispers before, but I've got Maiden Eye in front of me. So out of Melbourne, and they know this stuff. And there's a book on vermouth by Sean and a colleague, which is really worth reading. So if you can track down the vermouth book, you probably find it on the Maiden Eye or Gin Palace website, I'm sure. It's great. Anyways, so this is the brand if you're not familiar with it. Fun fact, when I did the Centenary Martini, I did a post a couple of days ago on this Gin Society. Thanks for tuning in. Come to that. Thanks for the question, Gin Barry. Ratio for sweeter vermouth, I will get to that. So shout out to Maiden Eye they were there at the beginning when I started my whole journey back in 2012, 2013, creating the official 100th Martini Centini, as we call it now, for Canada's 100th birthday. Anyway, they're fantastic products, but the pro tip is this in the context of martini. So all native botanicals, and it's got on here label strawberry gum, sea parsley, wattle seed, of course, etc., etc. A little goes a long way. So if you like a martini a certain way with like a French or an Italian kind of vermouth, my free advice would be just halve it, just because this is quite strong in flavour. It's gorgeous, but just a little bit less because you don't want to take over the drink. And which is what some bars I used to see overdo. It was a house pour, which is fantastic for putting straight ingredients, but yeah, a little goes a long way with this stuff. And remember, once it's open, keep it in the fridge or vacuum seal it. All right, so the question was, what's your ratio for a sweeter vermouth? So can you clarify that question? Is that for a martini or a different kind of drink, please? Cheers. If you just joined in, welcome to my home, Philip Jones, Martini Whisperer, Shay Noop, with a puppy in the background with a squeaky toy and a bone, so what could possibly go wrong, right? Anyways, but he does have half a cracker yet to go, so we might get him back in a second. He's learned the ways of aperitivo time and aperitivo time. Let's go to martini. Okay, so there's two ways you can play that Gin to Barrett in terms of questions. So let's go back to Lillet for a minute. So I did a thing the other week for some private clients, and it was a martini masterclass. And they liked the idea of a martini, but didn't want it too strong. Kind of scared, which is fair enough. It's their serious business, as we know. So I offered Lillet, and what I did was I rinsed the glass, about 5 mils. Good evening, Prohibition. Welcome to South Australia. We're on Canberra time, not South Australian time. So cheers to you guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. Hope you're well. Hope to get your way before too long, if they let us fly anywhere. Anyway, where was I? So yes, so what I did was I rinsed the glass with a little splash, like a bar spoon, of the Lillet. So again, it's based on Seville oranges, but it's not sweet. And it's got that kind of nice kick to it. Didn't throw it out. I hate wasting. I hate these things where they kind of get the vermouth and throw it out. It's just wasteful. But then for a bit of backbone, add another 10 mils of this to about 60 mils of gin. And I can't recommend the gin, excuse me, but it was like classic London, like a Tanqueray or something like that. And what that meant simply was that it kind of rounded out, thank you guys, rounded out the cocktail so that you had this really, really subtle softness on the back palate without taking over. And that she loved it very happily. So I guess the rule from again is try each individual ingredient, and I guess what you're looking for, and there's a PhD, I should write a Churchill Fellowship or something about this stuff, but the combination of the dry vermouth to the gin is clearly, some greater from some of its parts. So you have both in tune. Try it again. Taste both separately, and then think about, okay, well, one will dominate the other, or will they complement? Because at best, the vermouth will elevate some of the botanicals in the gin, and the gin will provide a nice palate for some of those botanicals, again, in the vermouth to shine. It's subtle, but it's real. Where was I? Good question, thank you. Okay, this isn't vermouth, but it's worth knowing about. Well, it's kind of a vermouth family, like Lillet. It's a Dubonnet. So remember back in the day, the British Empire, they gave, the soldiers and sailors kind of, quinine, and the gin tonic was born at blah, blah, blah. We talked about this last time, I think. This is the French response to that. So the ration in the French army was wine, because they're French. We're talking 1850s, 1840s, 1830s, even earlier. God bless the French. So yeah, so instead of getting water, they just issued wine, pints of wine, or litres of wine, I should say. And in that was the quinine. So Dubonnet was born of that. If you watch The Crown, the Queen Mum, she'll drink a little glass with a kind of pinky, that's this stuff. Usually with a slug of gin in there too, we love it, it's fantastic. I like this in summer with lime And yeah, fresh lime juice and ice. Stop complaining, Cosmo. Cosmo, come say hello. Who wants to see Cosmo? Cosmo the puppy, give me a wave. Cosmo, come. Cosmo, come. I need a wave, friends. Good evening, everyone just joining me. Phil Jones, the Martini Whisperer. Thank you for tuning in. I'm talking for Moof this evening, and we're about to have a puppy appearance of Cosmo the mod dog. Okay, Cosmo, come. He's learning how even to shake paws and everything. He's going to turn 1 on 1 April. Okay, thanks guys. We will. He's on it. Okay, here's the wave. We've got the wave coming. Cosmo, come. Cosmo, come. Good boy. He's be well behaved, can he? Good boy. There he is. Hey Cosmo, can you kiss? No, there's a cracker. There's Cosmo. Cosmo the mod dog, we call him. Because he's the head for name, but he wants this thing. He's been a good puppy today, mostly. Haven't you? There's rules. Have a cocktail, he gets a cracker. Don't you? He knows his puppy rights, don't you, buddy? So I hope everybody... Kiss for that? Do I get a kiss? No. He's smart as a cookie, like, oh my god, this guy. Aren't you? Yes, Captain Side-Eye, we also call him. So goodbye, Cosmo. Bye. That's working. Bye. Bye. No, you can't eat me. See ya. Okay. Where were we? For Move. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're here. We're talking cocktails, martinis, ratios. I'll take questions for a little bit longer. So I hope you all had a great week. It's a very good deal. It's a very good deal. The ancestry to this ritual, friends, is that some of you might recall my beloved dog Harry from a couple of years ago. He passed on after 17 wonderful years together. And Cosmo says thanks. No, he's moved on. He's like, yeah, later, bye. He's such a teenager. You're such a teenager. Anyway, so lovely Harry would get free crackers on a Saturday. So we're inducting Cosmo into the ways of TiVo time. Cheers. All right, where was I? Still talking for Move. Okay, so Lillet, Dubonnet, Martini, Maidenai, Nolly Pratt, Delon, all brands you should know. And think about, how you store them and so forth. So I'm going to take questions. And if you just joined in case you weren't aware, I keep a directory on the website of all the Australian vermouth makers. I've about 25 or so at last count. Victoria, New South Wales, even here in Canberra, etc., with links back to their respective websites and maybe a review or two, so on and so forth. So it's happening around the world, and it's good stuff. John Coldy Wines. Thanks for tuning in, my friend. How are you? We're just talking about you today, just locally, just by the by. Hope you're well. Gosh. Okay, so that's Vermouth for you, but kids. So World Vermouth Day is the 21st, which is like after tomorrow. And remember, if you got your vermouth, crack the bottle open, keep it in the fridge to extend its life, or vacuum seal it. And and also when you're thinking about your cocktails, martinis. Okay, aviation gin. Now we're getting warm. Yeah, the question was Nols or Dolon. Has to be Dolon for me, and always a citrus garnish. Reason being the sarsaparilla and the anise and all the rest of it in the aviation, which I love. They're all good, absolutely. Means you can't really compete with it, so why try? So the Dolon is a bit more steelier and will cut through just a little bit more than the Nolly. Trust me, I've tried them all. And again, citrus, that nice aromatic top note, again, just to listen to some intensity of the gin. I like it like really, really freezing out of the freezer, great for an aperitif. It's on my top 10 martini combinations. And if you haven't seen the movie, and Skip, I've mentioned it before, DK, A Simple Favour, I think it's on Netflix. Watch it tonight. Aviation and martinis figure large in the movie. It's a really funny black comedy. It's great. Came out about 3 years ago. Most welcome. Most welcome. Get the questions rolling, friends. I'm all ears. If you're just tuning in, I do this every couple of weeks. I have a big long session with a big theme each month, first Friday of each month. But I missed you guys. I thought I was tuning in tonight. If you're a Canberra local, just fun fact, whilst I've got you here, I've doing a series of events, tasting events at the Italian Providore Deli. It's in Wall Street in Bradham. Every couple of weeks, pretty much, until about July, maybe a bit longer. And they've got a great range of Italian products, hence the name. And so I'm doing grappa, I'm doing aperitivo time, we've got a sold out Italian gin, Sardinian gin tomorrow, which is going to be fantastic. I'm doing Amoros, all that kind of jazz. So I'll have those dates and booking things very soon. Yeah, that's going to be really fun. And they actually do a really nice job of all antipasto kind of plates for everybody and things like that. So it's limited to 16 people. And it's a nice little shop. So I'm really pleased to be working there. And we're also coming to pipeline, once I've locked in a venue, which is, sorry, that's Cosmo complaining. No, you're not going out. It's raining. Excuse me, puppy. Aussie Spirits, yes, there is. Can I go away and come back really quick? Hello. Sorry, friends. Okay, yes, Aussie Spirits. So the series will be in a different venue, focusing on Australian spirits. So I resurrected my last year's program, or year before that, when we think about it. Australian rum, Australian whiskey, Australian gins, vodkas, etc. So I've just about locking a regular venue, and so it'll be made available probably next 2 weeks, I hope. The whole series for the rest of the year. And as part of that series at the Italian Delegate, as mentioned before, actually John from Garage B out of Sydney, I think I mentioned this last time, we had a little chat, who's doing interesting stuff with spirits using native woods, like ironbark and so on and so forth. Thank you. Yes, me too. It's going to be good. So he's going to come down for a session in, I'm going to say July, but I could be wrong. Anyway, I'll have the dates and booking availability very soon around that. So he comes to town quite regularly, so he's just building his brand new release. Very, very interesting stuff. It's gin, but not as you know it, because he has got a whole new method of kind of making it, so to speak. But as you can see the colour here, it's using to infuse it with native Australian woods. There's a few people around Australia using this in the whiskey space, but not many. But in gin, it's quite new. Anyway, so it's still getting my head around that. Essential Greeting, Canberra, how are you? Cheers to you. I was in your shop the other day, so I've got to get some more things for an event I've got coming up in April at the Canberra Centre. So, love your work, as always. I'm talking Vermouth and fielding questions for let's say another 15 minutes or so, and you've got better things to do, I'm sure. But I do hope you have an enjoyable week and something agreeable on a glass, and I'll take questions from the floor. That's why I enjoy my drink. This is a Plymouth Gin Martini with DeLong, very dry, 5 mils to about 60 mils of this with a little bit of pickle. It's my happy place after a very busy week. Cheers. We've been talking Vermouth the last hour or so, and it's been fun. I hope you enjoyed something and learned something. And since I'm here, Martini recommendation books, dear friends. So this is a great one. There's a episode on my YouTube channel about these more in depth. But Robert Simonson out of New York City, writes New York Times. It came out a couple of years ago. I had the pleasure of chatting to him a few times on Instagram, video-wise, and this is a really elegant book about martini cocktail with great recipes. There's even an app to boot. Best vermouth for a dirty martini. Yes, now we're talking. Okay, so that's a pretty easy answer. Nolly Pratt, the French one. It's not hard to find. It's about $35 in a bottle shop. Oh yeah. Okay, now we're getting started, guys. This is good. That's what I'm waiting for. Okay, yeah. So this why? Because it's spicier and a bit richer from some of the others we're talking about. And you want something that's going to really kind of punch through a little bit. You want a nice kind of bold gin. Dirty Martini's not subtle, right? So this and a nice spicy gin. Even like a good old-fashioned beefeater, for goodness sake, or a Tanqueray or something. That'll do the business. But the deal is with the Dirty Martini, and we talked about there's an episode on my, again, sorry to say it again, YouTube channel about olive brine, Dirty Martinis and such. I'll send you the link, guys, if you're interested. You add the brine, about 5 teaspoons, more or less, or bath spoon, with the vermouth. So, for example, in a 60ml martini, a quarter would be vermouth as a starting point, right? Then you add in your brine of your Dirty Martini, stir it, have a taste, see how you're going. Then add more brine until you get to where you want to be. Yeah. Right. Does your glassware play a big part? You're most welcome. Does your glassware play a big part in the flow process of a gin? Ooh. Yes. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Because I was a bit skeptical about the whole Riedel thing, for example, Riedel glasses, now the various things. And fun fact, I used to be a fine dining manager for about a dozen years, working in restaurants around the world. And we did a masterclass for 1 year. We're talking a long time ago. Where they had all these different like Chardonnay glasses lined up, aged Chardonnay, young Chardonnay. If you're just joining us, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. We've been talking about vermouth for the last half hour, and we're now taking questions from the floor for a little bit longer. Hi, everybody. Cherise, good to see you again. You just missed Cosmo. He's out being a Cosmo puppy. Hope your puppies are cool. So, yeah, anyway, so what was the glass size? So the glass size, because the whole science is about landing different things on your palate, the right sequence, blah, blah, blah. So, sweet, sour, whatever. And it does. So I've got some vintage ones. I know you used them before. It's almost like a tulip bowl. And you get everything up front, yeah? But with these, you're getting these ones, they're all kind of like the middle palate. So yes, it does. It really does. It's there. The question was from Christian, what if Nolly Pratt, that is too floral for your taste? Well, again, I would suggest that it would be quite moderated. So for me, I find it quite spicy. So if that's the case, then I would think about, so I have two things. Either add more olive brine to compensate, change the gin you're using to something like a Beefeater or a Beefeater 24, or you want to go exotic. There's a Gin Marais, which is the Spanish gin in the blue bottle that I had in America as a Dirty Martini, and it just shone because it's all rosemary and salt kind of flavour profiles. So that will kind of balance all that out. But if that's the case, if you really can't get past Nolly, then Dolan is stiggly and light. Think Sauvignon Blanc with spice and herbs. That's your Don. So that could be your deal. Let me know how you get on. Questions. Okay, so Flinders Distillery, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. We've been talking about vermouth for a bit. And now I'm fielding questions from the floor. I do this every couple of weeks just to stay in touch with you beautiful people. And again, thank you for your support. Most welcome, Squishy Wolf, anytime. And Cosmo says, Wolf, if he does. God, I'll take questions. Let's go. My pleasure, DK. Just doing my bit. Making the world a better cocktail place, one cocktail at a time. Well, stop it, you kids. I love you. Also, just so we're talking event-wise, I am planning some things in Sydney at the moment. So it's complicated because all the bloody rigmarole that goes on. But I hope to be in Sydney in April. And chances are, touch wood, I may even do an event up there. So if you know anybody who wants to maybe hut with me up there. Also, what's also coming in the pipeline, maybe a trip to Western Australia and maybe a trip to South Australia. So it's complicated because you want to get there and come back because of the borders and rigmarole. But the will is there. So I'm really trying hard to get out there and meet you, wherever you happen to be. Also, what's in the pipeline is some merchandise is in the pipeline. So I can't say any more, but there will be Sydney. Yes, absolutely. So I plan to be there sometime in April. Briggs Distillers make fantastic rum. I've been championing, they don't know this really. I've been doing rum workshops for several years. And it's hard to actually get Australian rum masterclasses up because people here just have this mindset about rum. But I always have Briggs spiced as part of the lineup, along with 6 other rums like Jimmy Rummy and Hoochery and so on. They don't even know I'm doing it, but I do think they're fantastic. They're really good. What I do with their spice rum, just as an aside, John, you'll be the first person I talk to when I come to South Australia. So I'm just trying to line up. I'll be good around the house, good around the farm. I'm not a bad cook even, so maybe I could do some, staff meals for you or something like that, mate. That'd be fun. That'd be awesome. I would love that. Yeah. So basically, trying to organise a roadshow around Australia, and again, I mentioned in passing before. Last time we got together on one of these things, and every so often about the series I've been trying to get up last few years, and it got killed like everything else did last year. But it's, I've got interest in South Australia, and I've got interest in Sydney, and so on and so forth. So, and even locally here to produce a pilot about distilling and cocktail culture to, take it to the next level and things like that. So it's all part of that context as well. So yes, so if you want to do something together in a certain location, please let me know. Ballywillen House, welcome to you, wherever you happen to be hailed from. Hope you're safe and well and enjoying your Friday. Welcome to Friday. Indeed, little Juniper. So there's still a lot of moving parts, but it's feeling warmer than not. I think it's one of those things that I do just it'll come, but it won't happen if one doesn't pull the finger out. So, indeed. Who was I? Talking booze. Taking questions, friends. I know we're 5 minutes or so, and I shall let you get on with your lives. Cheers. Oh, but it's by the by. So this is a shameless plug for Canberra, not me. So I had the privilege of doing judging a local bar awards here just very recently, and so I do that every year or so, and it was a real privilege, to be perfectly honest, to sit down with these young gentlemen, or gentlemen in this instance, and see them work, put their paces. So they do an hour interview, and plus I look at the resume. They make a classic riff on a cocktail of their own creation, one of their own original, and whatever's on the menu. And some of these like proper like full-on cocktail bars, and some more restaurant context. And I came away and some of them were very big, kind of like a function kind of venue. But what's consistent for me was a complete passion for what they're doing. Most they kind of left their uni degrees to do this work. They're now full-time, completely devoted, self-taught, mentoring their teams, still in the early 20s, working like 80 hours a week because I just loved it, didn't have to. Really on top of their kind of food science, creating their own ingredients. So I just came out really inspired, and the drinks were like stellar. So again, friends, if you're a distilling business and whatever, you come to Canberra, you can be sure that the cadre of people working in hospo here, behind the sticks, so to speak, are really, really excellent. It's a really, really vibrant bar scene here, and they really are very open to new things and new ingredients, and just really passionate, hungry to learn. So yeah, exciting time indeed. So I would love to, in turn, welcome you to my city, show you around and pour you a drink every so often. I can't say where I judge because that's on the contract, because I'm supposed to be anonymous about that kind of stuff. But we can talk offline about where to go. I think some of the usual suspects you might have probably guessed, but in some surprising places, to be honest, which is really great. So places you wouldn't think you're going to get a great cocktail or really thoughtful cocktail. So they've taken like an original and then given a riff and made their own syrups and infusions and teas and tweaked it. And yeah, I put them for their paces. I kind of drilled them down a fair bit, but yeah. We're in safe hands here when you want a decent drink. All right, on that note, I think I will leave it there. So friends, thank you for tuning in. It's great to have your company again on a Friday night. So I hope you enjoyed the little thing on Vermouth. I might put this up on the YouTube channel if you missed the first half of it or so. And stay tuned for news about local events. And remember friends, once you open it, vacuum seal it or put it in the fridge to extend its life. And it's been great to have you along. Take care. See you soon. Good night.